Okay, I want to go over the solutions to some of the problems from the Chapter 3 test so that you can hopefully do better on the Chapter 3 retest coming up on Monday. We've already talked from page 1 about problems 1 and 2. The answers were D, no parallel lines on number 1, and C, E was parallel to F on number 2. So on problem number 3, the angles given to us are angle 14 and angle 17. 14 and 17, and they're given as congruent. Well, we're going to find the transversal for those two lines, which is this green line that I'm drawing. The other side of angle 14 is line E. The other side of 17 is line F. Now they were given as congruent. Okay, we want to classify those angles. And angle 14 is between the two red lines, and that makes it an interior angle, but 14 is outside its exterior. But they are in exactly the same spots. They're in the same location relative to the transversal and the two lines. They're in the top left corner of their intersection. That makes them corresponding angles, and since they're congruent, corresponding angles congruent makes the lines parallel. In this problem, E is parallel to F, and for number 3, that's choice C. Okay, problem number 4. Again, we'll go through the same process every time. We will identify the transversal and then the two lines. We will classify the angles and see if that satisfies our criteria for parallel lines. On number 4, it's angles 12 and 19 adding up to 180. Okay, angles 12 and 19 share line D as their transversal. It's a side of both of those angles. The other side of angle 12 is line A, and the other side of angle 19 is B. Now these two are not given to us as being congruent. Instead, they were given as adding up to 180. Well, that means they are supplementary. And these angles are between the lines, making them interior. They're on the same side of the transversal. So, they are consecutive interior angles, and consecutive interior angles being supplementary does give us parallel lines, and it will be lines A and B that are parallel. That's choice A on number 4. On problem number 5, 9 is congruent to 15. Alright, 9 and 15. Okay, they have C as their transversal, the line that forms a side of both of them. The other side of angle 9 is line A. The other side of 15 is line B. So if anything is going on, and they were given as congruent, then we're going to have AB parallel to B. These angles are both between the green lines. That makes them interior. They're on opposite sides of the red line, so they're alternate interior angles. And if alternate interior angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So A is parallel to B, and your choice on number 5 is choice A. Now my assumption as you're doing this, listening to this video, is you are looking at a copy of your test or the solutions so you see the complete problems. I'm just going over what the answers should be. So number 5, we had choice A. On number 6, we're back to a couple angles adding up to 180. So we know if those angles happen to be consecutive interiors, that's going to give us parallel lines. Otherwise, it's not. And the two angles that we are given are angles 21 and 22. They have B as their transversal. The other sides of the angles, other side of 21 is E. I lost some stuff there. Going back, we had 21 and 22. There's their transversal. The other side of 21 was E, the other side of 22 is F. So potentially, we've got E parallel to F. And we do because those angles are between the two lines, making them interior on the same side of the red line, the transversal, so they are consecutive interiors, and since they are supplementary in the problem, it says they add to 180, then the lines are parallel, and that would be E parallel to F. That's choice C. On number 7, you don't need to look at the diagram. If you just look at what it tells you on number 7, it tells you that E is perpendicular to A, and F is also perpendicular to A. Notice that the A appears in both of those. So when that happens, you know that the other lines, E and F, have to be parallel, because if two lines are perpendicular to the same line, they are parallel, so your answer to number 7 is C. E is parallel to F. On number 8, we have angle 16 and angle 8 being congruent. Okay, 16 congruent to 8. Go find those. There's 16, there's 8. The transversal for those guys is line C. That's the side of both angles. The other sides of those angles are E and F, so it's E that might be parallel to F. The angles 8 and 16 are between the two red lines. That makes them interior. They're on opposite sides of the green line, so they are alternate interior angles, and alternate interiors being congruent is a reason for parallel lines. So E is parallel to F. We have choice C again. Okay, problem number 9 is just asking you about what line is the transversal for for angles 7 and 12. So we do this just like we've been doing the recent problems. And angle 7 and angle 12 are there. They have a transversal. A side of both of them is line A. So your answer for number 9 is A. Okay, down on problem number 10, and for all the problems in this area, you are given that all the lines that look like they are parallel are. The A is parallel to B, E is parallel to F, and C is parallel to D. Okay, and you're also given some angle measures. You're told that the measure of angle 10 is 50 degrees. You're told that the measure of angle 19 is 100. And from there, you're asked to find some angle measures. Okay, we know some things from first chapter and second chapter before we got here that vertical angles are congruent. So we have 100 for angle 25. We also have angle 6 being 50 because it's vertical to angle 10. Okay, from there, also from the first chapter, linear pairs are supplementary. So if angle 19 is 100, then angle 18 must be 80. That also gives us that angle 26 must be 80. Now we'll use some of the information from this chapter. One piece of information from this chapter would be that alternate, we'll go with consecutive interiors being supplementary. Angles 19 and 12 are consecutive interiors for lines A and B. So and they're supplementary then, since 19 is 100, angle number 12 must be 80, so that they'll add up to 180. We could now, by verticals congruent, get angle 4 being 80. We should know that angles 4, 5, and 6 add up to 180 because they're all coming out of the same point on line A, and that leaves 50 degrees. 80 plus 50 is 130. Subtract that from 180. 50 degrees for angle 5. Since verticals are congruent, 50 degrees for angle 11. By corresponding angles congruent, we will get exactly the same pattern of angles where A crosses at this crossing up in the top left corner. So these guys are also 80, 50, 50, 80, 50, and 50. So we've got all of those. Okay, from there, we could look at angles 8 and 16. 8 and 16 are alternate interiors for lines E and F using C as a transversal, so they're congruent. Or actually we could actually state that that pattern down there has to be the same as the other patterns where the two lines meet. Either way, we get that one. We could also go by alternate interiors and get this 80 right here because 15 and 9 are alternate interior. Now we can complete the pattern like up top. We'll get the same pattern. That's a 50, a 50, a 50, and an 80. We've got all of that. And in the left corner, although I don't think, does the problem even ask about the left corner of the diagram? Let's see. Don't think it does, but if it did, we would know that 22 and 22 and 14 are alternate interior, so that guy is a 50. That means we've got a 130, a 50, and a 130 in that corner using verticals congruent and alternate and linear pairs supplementary. Okay, that's enough information to answer all the questions in number 10. So for number 10, the measure of angle 6 is 50. Part B, the measure of angle 17 is 50. Part C, the measure of angle 1 is 80. Part D, the measure of angle 25 is 100. The next part D on the next line, the measure of angle 11 is 50. E, the measure of angle 18 is 80. And F, the measure of angle 20 is 50. On problems 10 and 11, it asks us about the what the value of x is, and it gives us the value of angle 11 and angle 14. Well, angles 11 and 14, if we look at the diagram here, it's a pretty messy diagram right now. I'm going to get rid of all of the marks on this page. I think I am. I think I got rid of the whole page. Well, that wasn't good. I got rid of more than I wanted, but it gave me a clean page to work on. So we'll go ahead and do that. Angles 11 and 14, and you'll have to look at your diagram because I just lost mine. But 17 and 14 are corresponding angles that using transversal B and lines E and F. That means they're congruent. So we want to set their measures equal, and if you do that, you will get the equation. Um, 3x plus 42 equals 4x minus 2, and if you solve it, you'll get x being 44. So that's your work on number 11. On number 12, the two angles are 24 and 25, and if you look up at the picture, you'll see that 24 and 25 are consecutive interiors, so they would add up to 180. So your work there is going to be that they add up to 180. That will be that 2x minus 4 plus 100 equals 180. That'll be 2x plus 96 equals 180. That means 2x will be 84 and x will be 42. Okay. We are on to the next page then, and the next page we've already done in class. The answers were number 13, A, B, A, in that order. The only special angles we know that are not congruent, which was choice A, are supplementary, and that was choice B on consecutive interiors. We've already done in class 14 through 18. The answers were 14 was C, 18 was A. I'm sorry, 14 was C, 15 was A, 16 was D, 17 was B, and 18 was E. Okay, we're going to go to the proof then. In our first proof, we're trying to show some angles being congruent. And because of space needs here, I'll be writing above the table to get started. So I'm going to begin by writing the given. That's always going to be your first step. That's going to be C is parallel to D, and A is parallel to B. Out of the range of this picture is that these two lines here are named A and B. We're out to prove that angle 16, which is right down here, is congruent to angle 6, which is right up there. The general plan on proofs like this is to use your parallel line facts and find, and that was given as our reason on the first one, and to find an angle that both angles can be proved congruent to. Well, angle 8 would be a corresponding angle for angle 16 using the parallel lines C and D. So we can write that angle 8 is congruent to angle 16. If we use lines A and B for our parallel lines, then angle 6 is congruent to angle 8. The reason for both of those is that corresponding angles are congruent if and only if the lines are parallel. At that point, we have what we need. We may finish our proof by saying angle 6 is congruent to angle 16. They were both congruent to the same thing, angle 8, so we can make a little substitution, and we have exactly what we want. Okay, on our next page, this is the next proof. Let me see what the next page was. Yep, the next page was the next proof. Let's see, was it now? No, the next page concerns slope, and I will refer to you to the solutions because it's worked out pretty good on the solutions on that entire page. So for problems 20 through 25 there, just take a look at the chapter 3 solutions that are on Prism. Okay, we've got our next proof here. Well, we're going to, obviously begin with the given. Let's assume, because I'm really low on space, that I've written down well, I'll just write it. Angle 3 congruent to angle 2, and angle 6 congruent to angle 4. And that reason for that was given. Okay, well look what you've got. 3 congruent to 2, 4 congruent to 6. In order to get AD parallel to BC, I'm going to need to get angle 3 congruent to angle 6, because those are angles that are angles on our lines. In fact, they're alternate interiors. So what we're going to notice is that angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical angles. We're going to say angle 2 is congruent to angle 4, and our reason is going to be vertical angles are congruent. Once we've got that, we can make a substitution. We can say that angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. It's actually two substitutions. It's putting 3 in place of 2 and 4 in place of 6. Substitution. Now that we've got all of those angles congruent, specifically we've got angles 3 and 6 congruent, using this transversal AD and BC, the angles that we've got here, angle 3 and angle 6, are alternate interiors, and that makes our line parallel. So our last step will be to say that AD is parallel to BC, and our reason is AIA congruent if and only if you have parallel lines. Okay. We've got this little graph, and I don't have an axis yet on this page, so let me just say that'll be my y-axis. This will be my x-axis. Okay. Now, we need to start by plotting the point -1, 2. That's to the left 1 and up to this point that I've just filled in there is -1, 2. Writing the coordinates next to it is what I mean by labeling the point. Now, this has a slope of -2/3. That means if I move 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and then down 2, 1, 2, here is another point on the line. Now that's 2 over and 0 up and down, so that's, oops, sorry, that is the point 2 for x, 0 for y. That's all I need you to do, other than to just draw the line that passes through those points, and you're done. Okay, the equation of the line in slope-intercept form with slope 2 and y-intercept 3 is y equals 2x plus 3. That number is always the slope. That number is always the y-intercept. Okay, this is point-slope form. In point-slope form, that's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And x1, y1 is the point here. So x1, y1 is 2, 5. M is the slope, it's 4. So it's just filling into the formula. Y minus y1, which would be the 5, is equal to the slope 4 times x minus x1, which is 2. Okay. On the next one, I've got 2 points, and I want the equation of the line. I will start by getting a slope. The slope would be, using the slope formula, 6 minus 2, that's y2, the 6, minus y1, the 2, divided by the x's subtracted in the same order, 3 minus 1. Alright, that's going to give us 4 over 2, which is 2. Using point slope, and I'm going to use point slope with this point, 1, 2, although I could have used it with either one, the equation of the line in point slope form is, let's see, growling because my computer wasn't working here. Okay, is y minus the y-coordinate, 2, is equal to the slope that we just found, 2, times x minus the x-coordinate, which is 1. It says we want the final answer in slope-to-intercept form, so I'm going to solve this. This is y minus 2 equals 2x minus 2, and if we will add a 2 to both sides, our final answer on this problem is going to be y equals 2x. Okay, 2 lines are skew if they don't intersect and they are not coplanar. If they're coplanar and don't intersect, we call them parallel. So this was choice D off of your list on the next one. Okay, on our last problem, we're finding the distance between 2 parallel lines. And we're finding the distance between y equals 3x minus 5 and y equals 3x plus 8. Okay, just a very rough graph here. We've got 2 lines, and we can see they have positive slope, slope 3. One of them has a y-intercept at negative 5, and so that's my y equals 3x minus 5 line. And the other one has a y-intercept of 8. So this is y equals 3x plus 8. We want to know how far it is between them. Let me put this point here. That's 0, 8. If I need it, that's 0, negative 5. Our technique has been to find the equation of the perpendicular to one of the lines. I'm going to choose y equals 3x plus 8. I need the equation. Let me just change colors so we can see that in a different color. Make it purple. Okay, I want the equation of this purple guy here. Okay, he's going to be perpendicular to 3x minus 5 and going through 0, 8. Well, the slopes of our lines are 3. Okay, it's the coefficient of x. So the slope of the perpendicular, m perpendicular, is the negative reciprocal of that. It's negative 1/3. Okay, so my perpendicular line here has equation y equals negative 1/3 x, and it has the same y-intercept as the top line, 0, 8, so plus 8. We need to find the intersection between that line that we just put in and the bottom line. We need the coordinates of this point down at the bottom that I'm indicating down here. We need those guys. Okay, to do that, we're going to solve the system of equations. 3x minus 5 equals 1/3 x plus 8. Okay, it takes a couple steps to get there, but if you get there, you will get that x is 3.9 when you solve this. And I'll assume if you take your time long enough, you can solve that. I would start by multiplying every term by 3 to get rid of fractions. Okay, once you're there, you can get the y value by plugging the 3.9 into either of the lines we just came from. I'm going to plug it into the bottom line, which is the 3x minus 5. So y equals 3 times x, which is 3.9, minus 5. That gives us y is equal to 6.7. Okay, so I know the coordinates of this point down here now. The coordinates of that point are 3.9 for x, 6.7 for y. Okay, I'm going to get a clean page and finish the problem then. The distance formula says that the distance between 2 points is the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. The 2 points we wanted to find the distance between were 0, 8, that can be our x1, y1, and the point we just found, which was 3.9, comma, 6.7. Okay, so that will be our x2, y2. So the distance here is the square root of x2 minus x1 would be 3.9 minus 0 squared plus y2 minus y1 would be 6.7 minus 8 squared. When you work that out in the calculator to the nearest tenth, that distance is 4.1. A lot of work for 2 points, but I do expect you to use this method and show your work if you attempt the retest. No shortcuts will be allowed. Okay, good luck on the retest. See you then.